Hello and welcome to this thing. This is new. This is the first video I've done on this channel. I'm not a stranger to YouTube, I guess. I've had some channels in the previous with measured success, I guess you could say. One being a music-focused channel and one being a technology-focused channel. But that's not what this channel is about. This channel is going to be kind of just a place where I can talk about things that I want to talk about. And today's topic is actually going to be quite a personal one for me, and it's about saying no. As the title says, saying no, my experience. And I want to start this video off actually with a quote. So a professor and colleague of mine often has said to me, you need to protect your peace. Shout out to Dr. Matthew Kennedy on that one. So, protecting your peace, keeping what you think is peaceful for yourself and managing your time. And so I'm going to dive into a personal anecdote today about that. So I am a music education major at a small private college in the Midwest, specifically Northwest Ohio. And the school is nestled on the aptly named College Hill in my rural hometown. Compared to most other schools that offer music education, we have a pretty small department. We have 3 full-time members, a part-time faculty member, and the other miscellaneous faculty members are all adjuncts. So of those faculty, most are either adjunct or part-time. This is kind of a bigger problem with academia as a whole. This is not an issue that is specific to my college and university. This is kind of a thing that is a broad spectrum problem across all universities. However, because of this lack of faculty, it comes down to students having to pave kind of their path and seek out experiences to become more successful in their chosen field. And this is especially prevalent in the music department that I'm a part of. So going back to high school, there was kind of always an air about college preparation. You were always going to either prepare for college, or if you weren't, you were already attending the local vocational school, and it was heavily suggested that you would eventually enter the trades after school, or after high school. And if you weren't to do that, obviously, like I said, you're preparing for college and would be attending some sort of accredited post-secondary institution, such as a more regular 4-year institution or something like a community college. And we have a couple of those in my area. So this kind of made me feel like I needed to prepare for my academic career after high school. So within high school, there wasn't really much wiggle room to kind of do things that were outside of the core curriculum to get your GPA and then to get accepted into an accredited post-secondary institution. So everything was kind of laid out for you by your guidance counselor. And of course, those guidance counselors were incentivized to send their students to either the trades after vocation school or after high school going into a college or a university. I would like to say that I'm one of the students that tries their hardest to make everyone's college experience just a little bit better. I feel like I had to take on some leadership positions in especially my sophomore year of college to try and make a difference to better the quality of everyone's experience. How I kind of previously mentioned, there was kind of a lack of some certain areas in our department that our actual faculty weren't actually really able to keep up with themselves because of their own duties that they had to take care of. So this kind of led to a little bit of a feel of pressure from faculty who are already overworked to fulfill requirements for the department. Now, this isn't a universal experience in all of the things that I did, but there were specifically some that I offered a service that was then picked up by our professor and was then roped into the product of my service became a requirement for the class for all of the students to do. So, for example, what I did is I recorded portions of our performance class. And what that is basically it is a kind of workshop where all of the students of the department get to perform for all the other students, and that kind of prepares them for their performance portion of their career, in which all of us will eventually have one. But what I did is I recorded all of those, edited them, and then submitted them to students for their own personal record keeping, but also to submit for the course. That became an expectation of the department. Now, is that something that's unreasonable? No. But is it something that I could have done better to say no to? Yes, and we'll get to that. So, if a student wanted a new experience or to make a difference, it was entirely on the student to do that. In some cases, then that difference then was turned into an expectation from the faculty because it also enriched their experience as well, kind of how I mentioned about performance class. However, don't take this as a slight towards faculty, however. They are also working within their limits and with what they are provided. To add another example to this, my university does not have any sort of brass chamber ensemble. And I have always really wanted to be a part of a brass quintet, but not only that, but to kind of to lead, direct, and arrange for that ensemble as well. And so I started a brass quintet at my school that I am not only the lead trumpet player of, or the first trumpet player of, but I'm also the director and the arranger for the ensemble as well. So if we don't have music for the band, I will arrange it for the ensemble, or not the band, but the ensemble. And then also I will direct and conduct rehearsals, but also perform as our first trumpet. So talking specifically, most recently, this last semester, I kind of got myself into a lot of situations of agreeing to things without weighing the consequences, good and bad. I became very, very, very overloaded with work. There were even some times where the amount of work I agreed upon was actually eclipsing the amount of schoolwork that I had to do. And, of course, schoolwork does come before anything else because that is really what I'm paying to get. I'm paying for that schooling. So I put myself under an inordinate amount of stress. But I did this because I thought I was helping further my college experience and pad out my resume with all this experience as well. It wasn't even for the accolades. Most of this work that I was doing was largely thankless, even though it benefited a great number of people. There definitely were people who were very appreciative of my work, but in the end, it's kind of just a thing of it shows up and, they just are like, okay, very cool. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. It is thankless and I do it mostly for my own self-pleasure. Most everyone around me did see the load that I put on myself, and it was up to me, though, to say no to that. And I eventually did. This coming school year, will be my fourth and senior year of university, and I will be graduating. But I will be having a little bit of a different course load in the spring because I'll be full-time student teaching. So a lot of those things that I took on in the past semesters, I won't be able to do anymore. And so it's time to say no. Retrospectively, I think I also wanted to kind of leave a legacy. And that's something I want to talk about in a future video, I think, is leaving a legacy. But I also wanted to make an impact for future students as well. I was very focused on making sure that what I did at school would be remembered and inspire others to work just as hard as I did. And this was obviously a selfish endeavor, and it let me kind of cloud my judgment by taking on more than I could really reasonably handle. But the whole point was, or at least some of the point was to kind of further that kind of mindset of hard work into another student just picking up the reins, theoretically, hopefully multiple students picking up on the reins on the work that I was doing to continue this lineage of great and good work that I had started. So here's what I have learned. Saying no is okay. People will not always be disappointed in you for saying no. And one thing I've actually really figured out is to kind of quell some of the disappointment on the person asking's end is that you can be helpful by possibly suggesting some other people who might be able to do the work in your place. Not signing them up for the work, not volunteering them, but actually volunteering them to be asked. It's, not putting anyone in any place to do anything, but just to ask and to reach out. But I have also learned not to spread myself too thin, especially in times where part of the stuff that I need to do is mandatory and does positively or negatively affect my future, such as grades. If I let my schoolwork slip, I could end with a less than great GPA, and I could possibly not be able to get into many master's programs after my undergrad. I do not have to say no to everything. I can accept some work, and I still will accept some work, because at the end of the day, a lot of the work that I did do or still do is quite enjoyable to me. I do end up liking to record things and edit videos and make all that stuff, but there is a limit to what I can reasonably do and reasonably should do. I just need to know my limits and work within my parameters. Well, anyways, that is just a little something I wanted to talk about. This video isn't really meant to give you exact advice on how to say no. I just kind of want to share a small portion of my journey in figuring out how to say no. So like I kind of said at the beginning, this channel is going to just kind of be a thing where I just talk about the stuff that I like to talk about. It's not really going to center on one specific topic or one specific genre of ideas. But it's just going to be about whatever I think is interesting or necessary to speak about in the time. And I thought it was necessary to say no. So there you go. All right. Cheers, folks.